when we spoke before the panel, you mentioned that one of the beauties of being an agency, you're able to be intelligent at scale, able to consider constraints and opportunities, able to optimize over a great degree of liquidity. And the requirement is to have, as you say, an imaginative driver of a machine to create that value and be able to optimize. So implied there are a lot of things, but amongst them, what is most important? Is direct connection with publishers via private marketplace most important? Is it people? Is it systems, from your view?
There was a great tweet I noticed at the start, and I'm sure someone should take credit for it and will hold their hand up, but it said, "A fool with a tool is still a fool." And I think as an industry, we have to recognize that there needs to be an intelligent component behind all of the data and automation that we are potentially now able to use. I use a phrase often, which is that the technology and the algorithms and the speed of connections, what they're essentially allowing us to do is get beyond the constraint of human capacity. Because there's only so much data we can ingest as people to process to then make a decision against. It doesn't mean you don't still need to have an innovative thinker behind that system, because the point of differentiation is usually, or impact, is some form of discontinuity. And that's not necessarily something a machine can learn. That's something that requires somebody to have a different view of what they're doing. So I think the operation is essential. Kurt's point, I think actually I don't entirely agree with one of your points there, which is that the marketplace, well, I do, but it's disappointing. The marketplace driving down the price before then lifting back the quality. I'm not sure that, I think what's happening is the marketplace is driving down the price. Whether or not that's a demand variable or a supply variable, I think could be argued. I would always argue it's actually a supply variable. And I'm not sure that we're creating an expectation of the quality. We're creating an expectation about a price differentiation amongst our clients. And I think that's, we're as an industry, the short-term yield, not yield, in fact the opposite, the short-term revenue goal is destroying the potential value of what should be an intelligent system around strategy and planning and execution. It's becoming buying optimization and, to a degree, in gaming of attribution. So I think as an industry, we're killing ourselves while we're still infants, and I think we have to change that. The headline of the session about being focused on premium, I would agree with 100%. Premium is clearly partially about environment in terms of where ads are placed. The environment within which that ad is being exposed, i.e. soulless environments, a rich canvas for a decent communication. And I think putting the creative component at the center of everything that we do, we can spin as many different ways as we want to define the right opportunity, right place, right time, right person. But if we don't put some salient message in front of them and give people an opportunity to recognize that it has some relevance to them, i.e. through cut-through or impact, we're wasting a lot of our time and we're not creating any value.
So if we, on that point of the creative experience, that might be dynamic creative, that might be embedded relationships, et cetera, one of the implications is that there's a great deal of data to decision on the basis of. And I'm curious on this, taking a look at direct mail telemarketing from the 80s and 90s, full of data, full of predictive modeling, clustering schemes, and the same 20 to 30 variables still predicted the bulk of the outcomes for performance. So is your quest in this to find more data variables, or and as technology providers, as data providers, are we in a position to sell you more data? Or should we focus on stronger analytics? Should we focus on defining that top 20 to 30 variables that are going to be economically justifiable and scalable?
Okay, I could be really clever and give you an answer. I don't know. I think we're too early and there's too many variations. I think data, there is no consistency in data. I mean, there's no standards around data. So it's very difficult to contrast the potential, the different data sets that are made available, offer in terms of accuracy of definition. If it's an intent data point, how accurately is it predicting intent, or are you buying, retargeting against someone that's already bought something, so you're actually annoying them, as we hear from consumers all the time. If it's about somebody's profile, how accurately are we predicting the person behind the browser, rather than even the accuracy of the data. There are multiple users on many machines. The third point about data is how many other people have access to that data. So are you creating a highly competitive environment whereby you lose any of the efficiency that the data could bring you because you're in a market position that forces you to pay a very high price for that? So I think the importance about data is finding a way to bring data that is relatively unique. So the client's data from an agency perspective becomes the most valuable asset, and then some methodology around understanding how to extend that data, whether or not it's lookalikes, whether or not it's lifetime and life cycle of customer prediction, so you can retarget that individual in an appropriate moment. The data, again, I think to my mind, the first thing that this market and other markets that are behind the US market in data need to achieve is a breadth of view. If you can have a view across the internet population with some degree of depth, that's a step forward from having no data. Of course, we can predict a nirvana where we have endless data points against individuals that can feed highly sophisticated algorithms, but some data is better than no data.